Erik Darling here, Darling Data. Feeling my Darling Data dandiest today. Beautiful day outside, I think. I haven't been outside yet, but I hear. I'm lying. I walked back and forth to the gym. It was pretty nice. I can't complain. In today's video, I'm going to show you a little snippet, a little whiff of some of the content that I cover in my course, Learn T-SQL with Erik. We're going to talk about computed columns today. And I'm going to talk about, well, we're going to do two things. One, we're going to see if a bug still exists in SQL Server. And then I'm going to show you some stuff around determinism with computed columns, because that struck me as interesting when I was writing it. So, or like, it was one of those like, I like this. You're cute. Anyway, down in the video description, you will find all sorts of helpful links where you can hire me for consulting, as that's my job. You can buy my training, including the Learn T-SQL with Erik course. There is a video. Would you believe I'm just so well thought out? I put a link in the video for the course that I'm selling. It's crazy how on top of things I am. You can become a supporting member of the channel for as minimally as $4 a month. You can say, hey, Erik, thanks for creating all this video content for free, you idiot. You're just feeding the robots. Aside from that, you can also ask me office hours questions, and of course, if you're feeling just really kind and generous, but perhaps not monetarily, perhaps you are pinching pennies, you're saving up for that big house in the hills or something. You can do stuff for free, like subscribe and tell a friend about my channel, so that people keep becoming subscribers and the little number gets bigger, and that's what I like to see. If you are out there in the world and you're like, gosh, I sure would like some high quality SQL Server performance monitoring that's absolutely free, boy howdy, have you come to the right place. Let me tell you, I've got that. It's on GitHub. It is totally free. It is totally open source. There are absolutely no requirements on your part as far as giving me information goes. It is a bunch of really good T-SQL collectors run against your server, get important information, and distribute them into appropriate, beautiful charts, graphs, and other. There's a heat map in there. There's all sorts of good stuff. And if you are maybe not a fan of feeding the robots, but at least enslaving the robots, making them do work for you, there are built-in optional MCP servers so that you can have the robots do analysis on your performance data for you and write up a bunch of stuff about it. Again, they're pretty good at like looking at the data and like telling you stuff that happened, but I'm still a little wary of like the advice on how to fix some of these things. I can't fix that part, but I can do the other stuff. Anyway, that's good enough there. Again, these are the last chance to buy tickets for my pre-con in Jacksonville. Day of Data. That's the one in Florida. I know that there are several Jacksonvilles. At least I would imagine there are several Jacksonvilles. Jackson is a fairly popular last name here in America. So there's probably many Jacksonvilles. But this one is in Florida, and I'll be there May 1st and 2nd. Or at least May 1st. I don't know. The 2nd, we'll see. We'll see we'll see what happens. I mean, I get really tired sometimes. But I will be there May 1st with the Advanced T-SQL Pre-Con. So buy those tickets now, because I may never come back to Jacksonville again. I don't know anything about it. After that, I will be in Chicago, Illinois, May 7th and 8th for Pass on Tour. After that, I will be at SQL Day Poland, May 11th through 13th. And I will be teaching advanced T-SQL pre-cons at both of those. Shockingly, I will then be at Data Saturday Croatia, June 12th and 13th, where I will also be presenting an advanced T-SQL pre-con. You might sense a pattern forming here. I really enjoy teaching about advanced T-SQL. It's kind of fun. And then, I don't know, barring extreme world events, I will be at Past Data Community Summit in Seattle, Washington, November 9th through 11th. So you can go to there and we can hug in the rain, and I don't know. There's that bridge that everyone puts gum on. It's gross. I don't know. Anyway, uh, it is the end of April. We have, but this today and tomorrow's video really, and before I debut my image for May, and I'm gonna tell you it's a weird one. All right, it's gonna get weird, but for now, let's go into SQL Server Management. See, I got a little lost there for that. I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Oh yeah, computed columns. Computed columns, I enjoy them very much. They have very good, they do very good things for very bad queries, I find. People often overlook them, and even more often they misunderstand them. Just like every other feature, there are trade-offs and a bunch of limitations and there's some general difficulties that are rather annoying. One of the biggest things that I get annoyed with when it comes to computed columns is not being able to team them with filtered indexes in the way that I want, where you can't have a computed column in the filter part of a filtered index. You can put it in the key or the includes, but you can't put it in the filter definition, which, I mean, to an extent I understand, because that index would just constantly be morphing in strange ways depending on when you update things. But, fella can dream. Maybe Microsoft can have Copilot fix that, right? Where's all that AI development, right? I don't know. Anyway, there you can run into some other problems, though, and those are the problems we're going to discuss today around determinism, often requiring convert to be used with a style specified or a culture specified, depending on how you like to refer to that optional third argument to the convert function. And of course, one of the biggest misunderstandings is people seem to think that if you don't persist a computed column, you can't do anything useful with it. And that is just a bunch of hogwash. Even a non-persisted computed column can generate statistics, can be indexed, and is often a path of least resistance to getting that column added, at least in the near term. There are some upsides to persisting computed columns, but we're not talking about those today. I talk about those in the full course content, so you'll just have to buy the course and do that. Or you can come to one of my pre-cons and get the course for free. It's crazy how that works out, isn't it? But much like any other column in a database, computed columns do generally tend to become much more useful when you index them, because that's when SQL Server can have that data in a useful order for seeking and searching and all that other stuff that it does, right? Even putting things in order had amazing benefits in a database. Who would have guessed? But probably the most obvious use case for computed columns is generally to make some expression sargable or provide better cardinality estimates for search predicates that would normally cause problems for us. If you think about one of the most common ones, it's like, is null column 0 or empty string or something like that. And you're like, I can't change the code, crap, but I can add a computed column to this table and I can index it. And then SQL Server can say, oh, look, there's a computed column on the expression is null some column something else. I have an index on that. I can use that index. Isn't it wonderful? So that's ain't life grand sometimes. Anyway, just like with filtered indexes, there are some ANSI set options. There are some rules you must follow in order to not hit errors when when queries attempt to modify the table that has computed column or a filtered index applied to it. If you don't do this, you'll be unhappy. Things will start going bad for you. But non-persistent computed columns, of course, the value is calculated on the fly when the column is accessed. There's almost no locking or overhead when you add them. The values are not stored on disk unless or until you index them. The expression may be, the expression does get expanded into the query during compilation. An expansion will happen even if the column is indexed. So if you want to find out what all that means, again, I cover that in the full course material. Persistent computed columns are a bit different. The value does get stored on disk, just like regular columns, or a regular column, or irregular columns. The space usage is equal to the data type size. It is updated when the base columns that make up the expression change, assuming that the computed column takes other columns into consideration in its expression. Because I suppose you could not do that at all. And the expression is still expanded unless you use trace flag 176. So if you want to see that in action, again, you can buy the full course material. It's not rocket science, not like trace flag 176. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see if this bug still exists in SQL Server, because I do enjoy showing people this bug. So we have a table here called oh no, and oh no has a persisted computed column in it that is just ID times 2. And if we try to create a filtered index on that table, we will get an error. And that error will say, filtered index C cannot be created on table dbo.ono because the column CC in the filter expression is a computed column. Rewrite the filter expression so that it does not include this column. That is a very straightforward, very good error message. But this is the fun testing part. Did Microsoft fix this bug yet? If we create a table like this with that computed column and with a filtered index inline in the table definition, can we still do this? Or will this throw an error? It still works. Microsoft has still not fixed this bug. I've been telling about this for years and they just refuse to do anything about it. And what's funny is now if you try to query that table, you just get a bunch of indexes, a bunch of errors, not indexes. You have an index that causes the error. And look at this one. Oh, there's more. Sorry about that. Look at that. It keeps going. It just keeps red texting me. Cannot retrieve table data for the query operation because the table, oh no, schema is being altered too frequently. Because the table dbo.ono contains a filtered index or filtered statistics, changes to the table schema require a refresh of all table data. Retry the query operation. And keep in mind, there are no rows in this table. I didn't put any rows in here. All I did was try to query. Even if we just try to get a count from this table, SQL Server will say, invalid column name, CC. You're like, what? What are you talking about? There's a column, CC. What? You're crazy, SQL Server. What's going on with you? But anyway, back to computed columns. Again, probably the most accessible use case for them is to, like when you see a query that's just like function column or column plus column or something like that, you can read the green text up there. When you see that stuff in a query, you're like, man, that sucks. And especially like the column plus column stuff or the column plus value or something like that. You're like, it's like substring, left, right, replace, upper, lower, things like that. You're like, oh man, that's annoying. How am I going to index for that? You can't unless you compute that expression and then you index it. But when it comes to creating computed columns, especially ones with dates involved, that you have to be very careful and you have to make sure that you create them in a way that is deterministic. So I'm going to teach you about that today. So we have this index in place on the post table on creation date and last activity date. And we have query plans turned on because we are smart professional presenters. We don't screw these things up. We're not amateurs anymore. We've graduated. We got our presenter Six Sigma Delta Phi black belt thing. The first thing we're going to do is alter the table posts. And we're going to add this computed column. The computed column is going to say, hey, if last edit date is null, replace it with 1900-0101. And then we're going to look and see if this column is indexable. And we can use this kind of neat, let me actually do this zoomy thing. And once again, thank you, Aaron Stellato and company for making SSMS zoomy wheel things for the results, so I don't have to do zoom it on all this stuff. And we can use this column property function. And we can feed it the table name and the column name. And we can ask this question of the function, is indexable? Well, are you? And of course, this comes back with a 0 because it is not indexable as written. So this is not going to work out for us. We cannot use this column because it is not indexable. And we want our column to be indexable so that it gets all of the attendant superpowers that an indexed column gets in SQL Server. Of course, cast will not help us here. Cast is the crappiest function in all of SQL Server. Convert is way better. And this is still not indexable. So we bid you adieu, cast. You stink. And I hate people who use you. Even the past versions of myself have used cast. I hate them too. So now we're going to try this with convert. But notice it's convert with only 2 arguments. I mentioned earlier that there is a third convert argument that is required for this that will make things work for us. So even just using convert alone does not solve this problem. It is still not indexable. And if we try to create an index, SQL Server will say, no, we cannot do that because it is non-deterministic. Damn the gods. All right. So let's try this again, but let's do this the right way. So now we are going to say, if this is null, if last edit date is null, please replace it with this string converted to a date time using this culture 112. And I think I already did this, so this is going to throw an error probably. Oh no, I didn't do it. Now it'll throw an error. There we go. But now if we say, are you indexable or is indexable, we come back with the 1. So the big win here was not only using the convert function, but also feeding it this culture or style third argument. So now that it is indexable, we can create this index, and all of a sudden things get better for all our queries ever that we're saying where is no last edit date greater than 1900 01 or 1 or something, right? Whatever you were doing before that stunk and made life terrible. Now SQL Server can have an easy time with that, right? Now, again, one thing that SQL Server is relatively good at is expression matching. Right? So if we say something like this, right, now we're going to actually have a query plan. I don't know, did I turn those off? I don't know what I did. I lost track. But now we say, hey, SQL Server, can you use that index? And SQL Server says, why, yes, I can. I can seek directly into that index. Thank you for asking. Is indexable. Good stuff. We are indexable. But we do not want to be slack with our data types, right? We do not want, if we write queries like this, we deserve all the hardship, trials, and tribulations that arise in our lives. We should do everything we can to make sure that when we are converting strings to date time twos, or whatever other temporal element we care about in here, that not only do we use convert, but we use convert with an appropriate style, so that in a non-ambiguous date format, so that we do not hit any weird ambiguity issues. What writing the query in this way does is remove ambiguity, right? And it makes it indexable. We cannot index ambiguity, can we? And now this query will as well pay dividends and remove slackness, and we will seek into the index that we created on that column. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you learned something, and I will see you in tomorrow's video, where we will talk about something else, probably T-SQL related, because that's what we're pushing out there lately, isn't it? T-SQL. All right. Thank you for watching.